Do you consider yourself to be reasonable? If you are, you're normal. You're also like everybody else. Most of us are followers. We go on one side or the other side. We have this point of view or this point of view. We tend to grow, we remember we're all Americans, we're all Democrats, we're all Republicans, whatever. We tend to like to be herded in groups. In my case, I'm a doctor, so I want to be like every other doctor. And in dental school, I was taught procedures, and I was taught to be cautious. I was taught to practice a certain way. I wasn't taught how to relate to people. And in the book, Unreasonable Hospitality, Will Guidara talks about the importance of being unreasonable. In his book, he talks about his journey, which is very similar to my journey. We don't rate dental practices, but in restaurants, they do rate their, restaurants, number 1, number 2, Michelin star. I'm thinking we should have a Michelin star rating for dentists. I think that'd be interesting. But anyway, they do for restaurants. And his restaurant was number 99 in the world, which is really great. I mean, in just New York City alone, there are 8,600 restaurants, but he was the 99th restaurant in the world. But he didn't like that because he wanted to be number 1. So he wrote on a napkin, as he was receiving his award, Unreasonable Hospitality. And him and his partner, the chef, Hume is his last name, decided to commit to being unreasonable in the level of service that they gave to their customers. They wanted to delight. They wanted to surprise. They wanted to give the unexpected. And within 1 year, they went from the 99th restaurant in the world to the number 1 restaurant in the world. They did it not being like every other restaurant. They did it by doing things that other restaurants didn't do. Let me give you an example. Once someone asked for a hot dog. Now, it's a 5-star restaurant. They don't serve hot dogs. They serve expensive food. Food at that time in that restaurant was like $600 or $700 a person. And someone wanted a New York City hot dog. Well, what did Will do? He goes into the street with a suit. He gets a hot dog from a vendor, goes into the kitchen, has it plated, 1 hot dog on 4 different plates with a swash of mustard and relish and sauerkraut, and he serves it. Now, I believe me, that those people are not going to be talking about the duck or the apple tart or the special caviar that they got. They're going to be talking about that hot dog for the rest of their life, because who serves a hot dog in a 5-star restaurant when they request it? When a patient comes into your practice and requests something that may seem unreasonable, do you say no? Or do you say, let me see if I can make that happen, as long as it's in their best interest? Something as simple as asking for salt, which I did yesterday when I was in a deli. I asked for an egg sandwich, and I was on my bike, and I was bonking a little bit, and I needed something to eat. So I asked for an egg sandwich. I came out, took a bite, didn't have enough salt. So I asked for some salt, and you know what they said? We don't have salt packets. I go, well, you have it in the kitchen, right? They go, well, it was salted already in the kitchen. So they gave me 2 blockages. So at that point in time, I go, I'll have it without the salt. And I left, and I'll never go back there again, just because they didn't give me salt. Something as simple as not giving me salt turned a very reasonable request into something that was unreasonable in making a blockage. So while there's unreasonable things you could do to be great, there are unreasonable things you could do to be terrible. Look at your practices. Are you going above and beyond? Are you doing everything possible? I'm not talking about putting in the proper suture or lining up the teeth. We all think that's great. And I go to a lot of conferences and they put a beautiful work up there and they show the teeth that are perfect and perfect. They never talk about what the patient's experiences was like. They never talked about what kind of pain the patient went through. They never talked about how long it took. They never talked about the cost, physically, emotionally, time-wise, to go through everything. They just show before and afters of teeth. That's a very small part of what we do. We never talk about the other part, and that's that human experience. Seth Godin, actually in this week's blog, he talked about being unreasonable, and is really unremarkable, because most people are never unreasonable. They're like everybody else. They're in the middle of the herd. It also requires a commitment to be unreasonable, because it's easy just to go to work and go home. But it's really not easy. I find that harder to do because it doesn't give me the same amount of joy. When I'm unreasonable, not only with my patients, but with my team, with my vendors, with everybody that I deal with on a daily basis, when I go above and beyond and put myself in their position, whether it's an employee that comes to work that's not feeling very good, or employee that missed a train, or employee that lost their health care, or employee that has a sick person at home, they're all going through things. And most doctors, most employees, most employers, they're only thinking about one thing: themselves. They're not really thinking about other people. And here is the irony. When I get out of myself and I am unreasonable and help other people and I care more about them than myself, actually I benefit. They'll benefit too, but I also benefit because it comes right back at you. And it's not a quid pro quo. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not I give to them and they come back to me. It doesn't work that way. It's just by giving and giving and giving and giving, my life gets better and better and better. And if I look at my world as like, what are they going to do for me? It really doesn't work out that well. Now, that's where most people are. Now, there are those people in the world that are takers. There are some out there. Those are not most of the people I work with. My team is not a bunch of takers. The doctors I work with are not a bunch of takers. My patients are not a bunch of takers, although some are. And then there's that group of people that I'm going to give you this, and then you're going to give me that. It's a transactional relationship. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, that's the way most people work. I call that the country clubbers, the people who are successful conventionally. They will do this if they get that. I'm going to lend you my basketball, but can I borrow your football? You can stay in my apartment, but can I stay in your house? They're just back and forth. And that's the way the world works. But then there's another group of people. I call these the transformational people. These are the people that give more than they receive. But the irony, as I said, is they actually get more than they give, even though they give more than they receive. That doesn't make sense to you, does it? But I found that the people who give without wanting to receive anything actually get many more gifts back. Sort of has something to do with the spiritual nature or the quantum physics of the world, and I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I think it works by not burdening my brain by worrying about what I'm going to get all the time, just by being there for other people. And we had an experience. I'll share this one experience with you. One of my employees had recently lost their insurance. They're busy. They have a very busy life, both personally, professionally. And they didn't tell me that they lost their insurance. And by the time they told me that they lost their insurance, the ability to get their insurance, they lost it because they missed the deadline. And so I called the people in charge, and they said, sorry, missed the deadline. Well, it would have been very devastating for this person because they would have had to spend probably $1,500 a month on insurance, which is a lot of money for this person. And if they didn't get the insurance, they may suffer some health injury. Well, anyway, it could have been very bad. It definitely would have stressed this person out. So I told the people in charge, I said, let's make it happen. And we pulled a couple of strings and we got this person insurance. And the person is beyond grateful. Now, if we didn't get this person insurance, what would have happened? It cost me a few phone calls and a little bit of time, but what would have happened to the person? Under a tremendous amount of stress. They've been with me for over 10 years. They may have lost their job because they got sick. They could have been financially ruined. And what would have happened to me? We would have lost a key employee. And what happens when we lose a key employee? We got to hire somebody else, which requires time and advertisement, interviewing, training. And to get someone to be trained to a level of someone who's been with me for over 10 years, it's going to take 5 years. It probably would have cost over $100,000 to replace this employee. I told the employee that. I said, I'm glad I got you. She goes, thank you so much. I said, no, I did it for me because I just saved $100,000. It became sort of a joke, but most people don't understand that. The people in charge did understand that. Most people don't realize the importance of helping other people. Now, I just gave you a very raw financial thing for this person, but it's actually a true story, and it just happened within 2 weeks ago. Those things happen all the time. It doesn't happen usually that fast, but I see them. So what's the point of all this? Look for opportunities to give your patients a wow experience to go above and beyond. If you do that, you'll create a niche practice which almost nobody practices in. It's a practice of great integrity because the most important thing, in my opinion, in order to connect with other people, is to give more than you receive. And when you do that, you'll get a great life. And more importantly, for those who want to build their practice, you'll build your practice by giving more than you receive. Don't nickel and dime patients. I give my patients a case fee. And once I give them the case fee, that's it. If I have to do more, there's no additional fee. It's included. It's like ordering a hamburger and say, can I have some fries with that? And they say it's another $1.50. Just put the fries on the plate, okay? Actually, put extra fries and give them for everybody at the table. That's a wow experience. And it doesn't cost the restaurant much. It doesn't cost us much to give those wow experiences. So, as I learned from Will Guidara, as I learned from Seth Godin, as I've learned from the Bible, it's always better to give more than you receive and give people that unexpected experience because they will love you for it and they'll become raving fans. Have a great day, everybody. Remember to be the gift.